parents demanded that I pay for my sister's education. "We can't do that, we're in a crisis," my mom said. I helped, but when I found out where they spend my money, When my parents first asked me to pay for my sister Lauren's college tuition, I didn't think they meant it. It felt strange, even embarrassing, to hear them make such a request. They'd never asked me for anything important before. But this time my mom said, "Austin, we really need your help. We can't do this. We're in a financial crisis." I pressed her about what kind of crisis, but I got vague answers, something about bills piling up and unexpected repairs. I had doubts from the beginning. My parents had always been comfortable, not exactly rolling in money, but stable enough. So why this sudden struggle? Still, they didn't let up. They began to frame it as something noble, as if it was my duty as the older sibling to step up. They reminded me how Lauren wanted to be a lawyer, how she'd always been the academic star of the family. This could change her life, my mother said. At first I was hesitant. I didn't feel I could take on that kind of responsibility. Emily, my wife, and I had just bought a condo. We weren't drowning in debt, but we were saving for the future kids, a house, all that. I told my parents I wasn't sure I could help. But they kept at it, slowly breaking me down over a series of phone calls. They began to guilt me. "We sacrificed a lot for you growing up," my father said. My mother added, "You were able to go to college. Why shouldn't your sister have the same opportunity?" Eventually, I gave in. I told myself they had a point. Maybe I was being selfish. Lauren had always been the driven one, the golden child with big dreams. If anyone in the family had the potential to become someone important, it was her. I agreed to pay the first year's tuition. $43,000. I wired the money and told myself it was the right thing to do. What's 1 year of sacrifice compared to giving Lauren the opportunity to do something great? I didn't micromanage any of it. My parents promised to make the payments and make sure everything was on track. I was working full-time and living 400 miles away, so it wasn't like I could check on things regularly. I'd drive back for a weekend every few months, and whenever I asked how Lauren was doing, they'd tell me she was thriving. Supposedly she was getting good grades, meeting professors, and getting involved in law internships. My parents sounded proud every time they talked about her progress. Even Lauren would occasionally chime in with stories about her classes and mock trials. I was proud of her, too. I felt like I was contributing to something bigger, helping someone I cared about achieve her dreams. But about 6 months ago, things changed. Emily and I had started having more serious conversations about our future. She sat me down one night and said, "Austin, I think it's time to put us first. You've already done so much for your family. We need to focus on building our lives." She was right. We weren't broke, but I couldn't keep bleeding money like this forever. It was time to set some limits. So I decided I'd bring it up on my next visit. I would let my parents know that I couldn't keep paying as much as I had been. I figured they'd understand. After all, Lauren was well into her sophomore year. Maybe they'd even have some good news scholarships or part-time jobs she'd gotten to help out. But when I finally made the trip back, what I found was unexpected. Her house looked completely different. There was a new car in the driveway, Lauren's car. Inside, the living room had been completely redecorated with expensive-looking furniture and electronics. They were living well, better than I had ever seen them. At first I felt relieved. I thought maybe things had improved for them financially. Maybe the crisis was over and I wouldn't have to carry the burden anymore. I thought now would be a good time to tell them about the cutbacks. But when I broke the news, things spiraled out of control. I sat down with my parents in the new living room and casually mentioned how great the place looked. My dad waved it off, saying something about finally catching a break. I nodded, happy for them, and told them what I had come to say. "Listen, I wanted to talk to you about tuition," I began. "Emily and I are thinking about starting a family soon, so I won't be able to send as much money in the future. Things are tight for us too." I expected a bit of disappointment, maybe even a conversation about Lauren finding ways to cover some of her expenses. What I got instead was a mixture of defensiveness and panic. My mom's face immediately tightened. "You can't just stop helping now," she said. "Lauren needs your support," my dad added, shifting uncomfortably. "If you cut her off now, she won't be able to finish school. Everything will fall apart." I frowned. "What do you mean? She should be halfway through her sophomore year by now. You said she was doing great." They exchanged a look. My mother quickly thought of something. "Well, there have been some setbacks. Some classes haven't gone as planned. You know how hard law school is." "Setbacks?" I repeated. I looked over at Lauren, who was sitting quietly on her phone. "Lauren, what's going on? Are you struggling with your grades?" She didn't answer right away, just shifted in her seat and kept her eyes on her phone as if I wasn't even there. That's when I started to feel that something was seriously wrong. "Lauren?" I pressed. Can we not do this right now?" she muttered. "Excuse me?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. That's when it hit me. Something didn't add up. If she was really in law school, why was she acting like this? She wasn't stressed about finals, didn't seem motivated, and hadn't mentioned anything about school on social media. In fact, I couldn't remember the last time I saw her post anything about school or campus life. I began to connect the dots. The new car, the redecorated house, the lack of any real updates about her supposed success. I stood up and faced my parents. "All right, I'm going to ask this straight out. How much of the money I sent actually went to Lauren's tuition?" My dad stammered. "Of course, most of it went to Dash." "How much?" I cut him off. Nobody said anything for a moment. Lauren finally broke the silence with a frustrated sigh. "Fine. I almost got kicked out at the beginning, okay?" My jaw dropped. "What?" "I didn't even show up for the first semester," she continued. "I failed some classes. They pulled my financial aid and I just didn't go back." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You've been out of school all this time?" "Yeah," she admitted, crossing her arms. "Mom and Dad told me to keep quiet about it. They didn't want you to stop sending money." Everything in my head went blank for a second. I had worked my ass off for 2 years, thinking I was funding my sister's education, only to find out they'd lied to me. I turned to my parents, my voice rising. "You lied to me. All of you. You spent my money on, what, new furniture? A car?" My father tried to defend himself. "We needed help, Austin. You don't understand the pressure we're under. Everyone's struggling right now, and other families dash. Don't even start." I snapped. "You told me you were in crisis. You guilted me into paying for something that didn't even happen." The argument exploded from there. My mom started making excuses about how they deserve to enjoy life a little, that other parents get help from their kids all the time. My dad doubled down, claiming that I had an obligation to help them because I was the one who was better off. Lauren remained silent, looking like she wanted to be anywhere but here. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my keys and left the house and went straight to a hotel. I didn't want to stay under the same roof as her. The betrayal hit me harder than I thought. It wasn't just about money. It was about trust, family. I had been manipulated, used. I called Emily that night and told her what had happened. She was furious with me and told me to get a lawyer. At first I wasn't sure I wanted to escalate things like that, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized they needed to be held accountable. The next morning I went back to confront them again. This time, I didn't leave without answers or a plan to get my money back. The next morning I showed up at their house unannounced. My parents were surprised to see me again so soon. They probably thought I had cooled off overnight. They were wrong. "We need to talk," I said as I walked in. I didn't bother to sit down. "I want a full accounting of every dollar I sent you." "Austin, come on," my dad started. "Do we really have to do this?" "Yes," I said firmly. "Unless you want to deal with my lawyer." That shut him up. My mom crossed her arms and looked offended. A lawyer? Over your own family? You're being ridiculous. Ridiculous is stealing from me. I shot back. Now either you tell me where the money went, or I'll have someone else find out. There was a tense silence before Lauren finally spoke. They used a lot of it to pay off the mortgage, she said, her voice low. And the rest? Well, they bought my car. And some other stuff. Some other stuff? I repeated. Vacations, she added hesitantly. They went to Hawaii last summer. Didn't they tell you? I blinked in disbelief. Hawaii? You were supposed to be broke. You told me you were having a crisis. It wasn't like that, my mom said, trying to spin it. We needed a break. Things have been so stressful for all of us. We thought it was only fair to enjoy life a little after everything we've been through. I stared at her, stunned. You thought it was fair to take a vacation on my dime? When I've been working overtime, missing out on things with Emily, sacrificing for Lauren's education, which hasn't even happened, by the way. She had the nerve to look outraged. You make good money, Austin. You don't understand what it's like for us. All our friends dash. I cut her off. All your friends? Is that what this is about? Keeping up with your neighbors? It's not just about that. My dad chimed in. Families help each other. It's always been that way. You're in a better position than we are, and dash. Stop, I said. Just stop. You manipulated me. You lied to me. And you used the money to live it up. Do you even hear yourselves? Before they could answer, my phone buzzed. It was a text message from Emily. It read, You won't believe this, check your email. I sent you something you need to see right away. I opened my email as they stood there watching me with nervous energy. Attached to Emily's message was a link to a public record of property deed. I clicked on it and froze. Why is there a lake house in your name? I asked my parents, glaring at them. Their faces went pale. How did you know about it? My dad stammered. Emily found it. You bought a damn lake house? When? My mom started to speak, but stopped herself. My dad looked cornered. It was an investment, he mumbled. We were going to tell you when things stabilized. Stabilized? Are you kidding me? You bought a lake house with the money I sent you for Lauren's education. It's not like that, my mother cried. We thought the value would go up, and then we could sell it and give some of the money back to you. It's a smart financial move. I laughed bitterly. Oh, so now you're investment experts? That's why you're drowning in debt, right? I was done. Completely done. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice icy cold. You're going to sell the house. You're going to pay me back every cent you owe me. And if you even try to fight me on this, I will take you to court. Court? My mother repeated in shock. Austin, you don't mean that. You can't sue your own family. Watch me. I turned on my heel and walked out. I didn't want to hear another word from them. I wasn't going to play their game anymore. Later that afternoon, I contacted an attorney. He told me that I had a solid case. Fraud is fraud, even when it's family. We drafted a demand letter giving them a timeline to sell the lake house and pay me back. In the days that followed, my parents tried every trick in the book. First, they begged. Then they tried to make me feel guilty. Finally, they got angry and accused me of cheating on them. I didn't care. I wasn't going to back down this time. Lauren, surprisingly, reached out separately. Look, she said, I'm sorry about all this. You dragged me into it. I should have told you sooner, but I didn't know how. I don't blame you, I told her. But you have to take control of your life. You're not a kid anymore. Don't let them hold you back. I won't, she promised. I'm done with their games, too. I wasn't sure I believed her, but I appreciated the gesture. One thing was clear, I would never be manipulated like that again. I decided to stay in town until everything was sorted out. I wasn't going to let my parents drag this out for months. I found a hotel nearby and stayed in constant contact with my lawyer. He kept the pressure on them with legal paperwork and deadlines. At first my parents resisted, but once they realized how serious I was, they began to give in. The lake house was the first to go. They put it on the market and found a buyer surprisingly quickly, probably because they were desperate. The sale didn't cover everything they owed me, but it was enough to make a significant dent. I made sure that every penny I could recover was accounted for. Over the next few weeks, I met with my parents and their financial advisor several times to go over their debts, expenses, and remaining assets. They hated every second of it, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to be strung along by more lies. During one of these meetings, Lauren's car came up. It was worth about $3,000. I thought about demanding that they sell it too, but then I looked at Lauren and remembered the conversation we had. She was already planning to move out to get away from them. I decided to let her keep it. "Keep the car," I told her. "Think of it as the last thing I'm giving you. But after that, you're on your own. No more handouts." She looked surprised, but nodded. "Thank you. I appreciate it, really." The final numbers came in a few days later. I didn't get all my money back, but I got most of it. Enough to make a difference in Emily's and my future plans. I was satisfied with that. When the business was settled, I went to see my parents one last time. Standing in the same living room where this mess had started, I told them the truth they needed to hear. "I'm done," I said. "You're going to have to figure things out for yourself from now on. I'm not your bank. I'm not your safety net. I worked hard for what I have, and you didn't even care how much you took from me. You didn't care what I sacrificed to help this family." My mother opened her mouth to argue, but I held up my hand. "No. We're not doing this. I'm leaving, and I'm not sending any more money. I've helped more than enough already." They didn't try to stop me, but the looks on their faces were bitter. I could tell they were angry, but I didn't care. If they didn't appreciate what I had done for them by now, they never would. I said goodbye and walked away without looking back. For the first time in years, I felt free. I could finally focus on building my life without worrying about their problems. Emily was proud of me for standing up for myself, and I knew I had made the right decision. Family or not, trust isn't something you can take for granted. Once it's broken, it's hard to fix. That was the last time I let anyone, especially my parents, manipulate me like that. 2 weeks after I said goodbye to my parents, life felt lighter. I focused on my job and spent more time with Emily. We finally started talking about real plans for the future, our savings goals, having a baby, maybe even buying a bigger house. I hadn't heard a word from my parents, and honestly, I preferred it that way. As far as I was concerned, I was done with them. One evening, as Emily and I were winding down, my phone rang. I saw Lauren's name on the screen and hesitated for a moment. Part of me was wary, but I reminded myself that she had been caught in the middle of all this too. I picked up. "Hey, Austin," she said softly. There was a pause, like she didn't know how to start. "I hope I'm not bothering you." "No, not at all," I said, curious. "What's going on?" I wanted to apologize," she said. "For everything. For not telling you the truth earlier. I was scared. Mom and Dad had me convinced that if I told you what really happened, you'd cut all of us off and everything would fall apart. I thought going along with their plan was the only way, but I see now how wrong I was." I let her speak, and as she did, I could hear the regret and exhaustion in her voice. She wasn't trying to make excuses, she was genuinely taking responsibility. "You don't have to apologize," I finally said. "They put you in a tough spot. I get it. But what are you going to do now?" "I moved out," she said, catching me completely off guard. "I'm staying in a hostel right now. I needed to get away from them. They've controlled everything for so long, and I finally realized I can't keep living like that. I have to figure things out on my own." I sat up straight, surprised but also impressed. "Lauren, that's a huge step. I'm proud of you." "Thanks," she said, sounding relieved. "I've already started applying for jobs." I want to save up and get my own place eventually. I'm not sure about school yet. Maybe one day, but right now, I need to get stable first. It was a completely different attitude from the one she'd had just weeks ago. It felt like she was finally waking up and taking control of her life. We talked for a little longer, and by the time the call ended, I had a genuine sense of hope for her. Later that night, I told Emily about the call. She smiled and shook her head. Wow. Sounds like she's really growing up. You should be proud of her, and yourself. I am, I said. After thinking it over, I decided to quietly send Lauren some money. It wasn't a lot, just enough to cover a couple of weeks' worth of basic expenses. I didn't want her to feel like she was being rescued. I just wanted to give her a little breathing room. I texted her afterward, letting her know to check her account. She called me a few minutes later, surprised but grateful. Thank you, she said. I wasn't expecting that, but it helps. I promise I won't waste it. Just use it wisely, I told her. And remember, you're in charge of your life now. I will, she promised. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. Since that day, Lauren and I have kept in touch. She's working and saving, slowly building her independence. Our relationship is better now than it's ever been. It feels good knowing she's on the right path, one she's choosing for herself. As for my parents, I haven't spoken to them since I left. They've sent a few half-hearted messages, things like, "We want to make things right," and, "Can we talk?" But I haven't replied. I knew their apologies would be empty. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. I was done playing their games. Emily has supported me every step of the way. She's told me more than once that setting those boundaries was one of the best things I could have done, not just for us but for my own peace of mind. She was right. I didn't realize how much of a weight I had been carrying until it was finally gone. Sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is walk away from the people who hurt you, even when they're your own family. But the ones who truly want to change will find a way to earn your trust back. Lauren did, and for that, I'm proud of her. The rest? Well, I've learned that not everyone deserves a second chance. This time, I'm putting myself and my future first.